gonna do some vertical rolls and do a tumble. Alright. A vertical tumble. Alright, ready? On vertical. And rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome back, and we got a really cool session today. We're going to do a little bit of almost like a day in the life, or what it's like to go through a little bit of aerobatic training. Now fortunately we have probably the best in the world here, is Rob Holland, and he's going to take me through probably about 5 or 6 lessons in. We've chosen, I think, Hammerheads today, right?
Yep.
So, and just so you guys know, this is not like training or anything like that, but we just want to show you like what would it be like for a student like me. I'm going to act like the student, obviously, and we're going to go through a day of training me on how to do hammerhead. So we'll be in the classroom here during the day, we'll do a bit of whiteboard, and then we'll jump in the plane and he's gonna go train me on how to do a hammerhead. Now, Rob, normally this is probably 4 or 5 lessons in, right? Normally your first day is pretty intense, right? What's the first day like?
Well, first day we just talk a lot about aerodynamics and on the ground, and just get re-familiar with the airplane, how the airplane actually works, talk about adverse yaw and gyroscopics and torque and lift and all the stuff that you've learned about as a private pilot that you've probably weren't paying too much attention to, but it becomes very important with aerobatics. I mean, it's important with all flying, but especially with aerobatics.
It definitely affects the flying when you're doing
So we talk a lot about that. We talk about safety stuff, parachutes. We talk about the airplane, pre-flighting, physiological effects, what you're going to experience in the airplane. So there's a lot of stuff you cover on the ground on the very first day.
So you're probably a few hours in the first morning of start training, right?
Absolutely. The first lesson we usually blocked off like 3-4 hours. Spend 2 or 3 hours on the ground, then that last bit in the air.
Okay.
And then every lesson after that was like a 2-hour block, some ground and then air.
So what are my first flights like before we get up to where we're going to do today, which is hammerheads? But is it normal like loops, rolls?
Yeah, you just start off with the basics. I mean, everything about aerobatics is about learning fundamentals. You know, when you really break it down, all the aerobatic maneuvers are built off basic components, and it's really about learning those components. So learning the axis of roll, the axis of pitch for like loops or whatnot, hammerheads like we're going to do today. You need to know about spins and recoveries, because if you screw something up, most likely you're going to end up with a spin, which is not a big deal if you know how to recover from it. It's actually kind of fun. Yep. So we talk about all that stuff first. It's building blocks. So you use these foundational things to progressively get into more and more complex figures.
Okay. Well, then in that case, when we fly this afternoon, I'm going to try to forget all that. Make sure I'm going to try to make believe I don't know any of that kind of stuff, and then you can keep correcting me because I want everybody to see like what would it be like as your first time going up and training. Okay, so today is hammerhead. So tell me, what do I need to know about hammerheads? What's today going to look like?
Okay, so obviously if this was a real lesson, from the lesson before I would have sent you home with a little bit of homework to study up on it and come back with a little bit of knowledge so we could have an educated discussion about it, and we're not just going to hit it from scratch. I would ask you, what is a hammerhead?
So a hammerhead to me is I'm going to be straight and level. I'm going to pull up into vertical. And then I'm going to get to the top of it, kick my left rudder in, a little bit of right ailerons. How do I know when about the time that I have to put my left rudder in? Probably I'm going to be looking at the string out on the side of my sight gauge, right? And maybe when that starts to wiggle like I'm losing, maybe that's when I'm going to kick in my left rudder with a little bit of right aileron, and then back to straight down and come out of it.
Okay, so let's break it down even more. What's the first thing we have to do?
Airspeed?
Yeah, you kind of make sure you have the appropriate airspeed for it. So in these airplanes, you go from pretty much any airspeed, but the more airspeed you have, the longer you can stay in the line, the more you can kind of play with it and feel how it is. So let's just say 160 at a minimum.
So 160.
Okay? 160. All right, so we have 160. What's next?
I'm flying a plane.
Okay. Yeah, we got to pull to the vertical, right?
Okay.
Are there things to know with that pull? Or are you just randomly pulling?
I'm randomly pulling.
Okay, no. There's more to it than that. So we want to try to do a pull that's optimal for the airplane to get on that line with the most energy possible.
Okay.
Okay. So with these airplanes, we can pull maybe 5.5 G pull, just kind of pull right into it. And what I want you to do is I want you to assertively, not aggressively, but assertively, pull a stick to whatever you feel like that G is. It should be about 5. And then once you hit that, just don't move the stick. Just leave it where it is until you actually hit the vertical line. That sighting device, the triangle out in the wing, is on the horizon, and then just center the stick. Now, what's the next part?
Any rudder?
We're going to get there.
Okay.
What's the next part?
Climbing, watching my, well, I'm not watching my airspeed now, I'm just climbing, I'm looking out at my sight gauge,
Yeah,
making
now we
sure
got a
I'm,
vertical line.
okay.
Right, so if you break these maneuvers down, there's a bunch of different elements go into it. It's not just a hammerhead. There's a radius, there's a line, there's a pivot, there's another line, then there's a radius pulling out, right? So we want to master those three different things. Well, I guess 4 different things. There's the vertical down line. So we're going to do that pull, like we just said, to the max G for that figure, which is about 5. Once we hit the line, we're going to center everything. Now, as we start going up the line and getting slow, what's going to happen?
You know, you're going to have some torque issues going on, you're going to start losing some effectiveness on your ailerons.
Yep.
So you might need to get a little better right aileron in there to keep it going straight.
And you got a bunch of stuff going on here, so it's going to want to start dropping a wing. You're going to have to carry some right rudder as you get slower.
So right rudder?
Yep.
Okay.
It wants to yaw off to the left. So we're going to do everything we can to maintain that vertical line. And I tell people, like, don't settle for anything you don't want. So if you're pulled to the vertical and you look at the sighting device and you're like 5 degrees positive, don't say okay, fix it, get to the vertical.
Okay.
If you see like the wing starting to drop, don't settle for that. Hit some rudder and get the wing back up. So whatever you're seeing, because you got to fly visually, fix and make the plane do what you want it to do.
Okay.
Don't just be a passenger, be a pilot. Okay, and as we get very, very slow, every plane's a little bit different. They kind of talk to you, like a decathlon starts getting a little bit of a shudder when it's time to kick. My airplane doesn't do any shuddering, but I got that string out of my sighting device, and when it gets a little bit wiggly, I know that it's time to kick. So every plane kind of has its indications, and the GameBird will have its own. But the string out there is a pretty good indicator. But we want to be as slow as possible. And now it's time to kick left rudder, right? What else do we need to do? What happens when we kick left rudder? The plane yaws, right?
Okay, yep.
So it's going to pivot, but what else is going to happen?
Now our airspeed's going to start to pick up.
We've got a big gyroscope up here, right?
Okay.
Right?
So it's going to start to act like a
there's two
helicopter
things.
with no tail on it.
Well, there's 2 things. There's torque, which is going to want to start to roll the airplane, and there's gyroscope. When you apply a force to a gyroscope, it acts 90 degrees of planar rotation. It's all stuff we learned in private pilot stuff.
Yep.
So as we pivot left, it's like applying a force here on the prop, which 90 degrees of planar rotation is here. It's going to start pitching the plane. I'm sorry, which way is the prop spinning? It's going to start pitching the plane back.
Okay.
Right, so how do we counter that? Need a little bit forward stick, right? And the plane's going to start to torque. How do we counter that?
Aileron.
Yeah, right. So you're going to need left rudder. You're going to need some right stick to counter the torque, and you're going to need some forward pressure to counter the pitch from the gyroscopic. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as the plane pitches over, and it comes to, well, first of all, how are we going to stop it?
I'll just reverse everything I did.
Yeah, use a little bit of right rudder to stop it in the vertical down line. Typically, what happens here is the plane starts to pitch this way. Do you know why that is?
Because of the momentum coming out, or no?
No, because you got forward stick in it.
Oh, that's right.
Right?
Okay.
It's one of the common mistakes is people, as the pivot stops, that gyroscopic force goes away. You got to take the stick out because you're not working against anything. That make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Good. Now that we're on the down line, what do we do?
Make sure we're mirroring as we went up.
Yeah, we got to hold it down.
Straight, hold the down line, look at my sight gauge, and then at what point do I start to bring back out of it?
Typically, however long you're on the upline, you can kind of count in the back of your head. I would just subtract 1 or 2 in the down. So if you spend 6 seconds on the way up, I would spend like 4 seconds on the way down. Because gravity's helping you accelerate.
So you're actually counting as you're going up then?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not just about looking at your sight gauge and figuring out when it stops. You kind of knowing.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
So hold the down line. And yeah, as you're going down, if you're just looking at a point on the ground and there's a wind, you're going to try to keep the nose in that point. Well, if the wind's blowing you, right? So the wind's blowing us this way, what are you going to do? You're going to start pitching the airplane to keep looking at that point subconsciously, and you're not going to hold the down line. So what you actually want to do is on the down line, keep looking over that sighting device again. Make sure it's square with the horizon.
Okay.
That's how you know you're going to stay perfectly vertical. And then when it's time to pull, just like we pulled up, again, pull right to that G, 5 Gs. Just don't move the stick until plane's level, and then center the stick.
Okay. Well,
We should be back right around 160.
that's definitely one of my mistakes because I never really account for the wind and things. And then when I go back and look at my videos where the smoke is, it's never the same place.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be the exact same space because when you do pivot, the plane doesn't do this. It kind of flies
Comes
over
out
a
a
little bit. Yeah. When you do a hammerhead, when you hit the down line, if it feels correct and comfortable, it's probably not right. And the reason being is because it's kind of flying over a little bit, when you stop, it's got a little bit of a side load to it, a little bit of vector. So if you stop to where it feels comfortable and square in the cockpit, you're actually a little bit crooked. If you're actually vertical, you should have a little side load on your body because the plane is sliding sideways a little bit.
Okay. How do I know from inside the plane that I just fly a good maneuver?
One, you'll have me there to tell you.
Okay.
When you start getting up there in aerobatics, it's best to start flying in places where you can have somebody on the ground watch you and coach you, because they can see things you can't actually see in the airplane. Another important thing with the pivot we should go back to is where are you going to look? So you're at the very top of the line, you're about to kick the rudder. During the pivot, what are you looking at?
At that point,
Yeah.
I'm looking down in at my sight gauge.
Okay. So what I want you to do is when you kick the rudder, you're looking through the sighting device at the horizon. Keep looking at the horizon, let the wing drop away, and let the nose come down to the horizon.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is, since you're seeing that picture, you'll see if there's pitch, you'll see if there's roll, you'll see all these things. You won't really have time to correct it, but you'll see what's going wrong. So the next try, you can use more input or less input to try to compensate for that. And then once the nose hits the horizon, now you can look down vertical and then bring the nose to that point. And then check the sighting device to make sure you're square.
Okay. See, I think that's important that I can appreciate, because I know I catch myself sometimes when I'm doing a maneuver, I'm looking at 5 different areas where we should have a reference point.
Exactly. You should
use
always be
that
looking at
reference
something you can understand, and whatever's going to give you the most information to use either at that point or later on. So, just looking down, that doesn't tell you anything because you can't see what the airplane's doing. But if you look at the horizon, you'll see the wing drop away, you'll see the nose come down, you'll see if you're rolled or pitched. And like I said, there's not enough time there to truly correct it. You'll see what the trend is, so the next time you try it, you can try to make it better.
Okay. And also, I guess for me too, seeing you were talking about reference points, so we're flying straight and level, my sight is out front of the horizon, I pull up, at what point, as soon as I lose the horizon, do I look left?
Yeah, so what I do is anytime I'm pulling like a loop or pulling the vertical or not, I'm looking straight ahead as long as I have some sort of reference in my peripheral vision. The tendency is you tend to push the stick where you look.
Okay.
So if you pull right away and look left right away, you'll tend to roll that way a little bit and go off crooked. But if you're looking straight and you can see the horizon, you're going to pull straight. When you have no reference anymore, now look out to the side.
Okay.
Being conscious to keep the stick straight.
All right, so I'm looking here. We pull in as soon as I lose, then I'm looking here.
Yep.
Then I'm watching my sight gauge.
Yep.
All the way up, what else am I looking for? My sight gauge and my strings
Yes,
loose.
probably the string, yep.
So then I'm kicking in my left rudder.
Yep.
Watching the nose on the horizon now. So I lose my sight
What else
gauge.
are you doing? What else are you doing?
At that point, well, I mean, I'm adjusting for
So you need a little bit of forward
ailerons
pressure, you
and
need a little bit of aileron, correct.
But from a sight standpoint, so I'm looking out my sight gauge horizon, then I pull the nose, and then I stay on the horizon, pick up my nose on the horizon,
Yep.
and then at
And
what point?
now look down.
So
So as the nose goes to the horizon, look
At this point,
Yep.
so nose goes to the horizon.
So it's almost as the nose hits the horizon, you know the wing is vertical down, right? You can look straight to the wing and find that spot and then bring the nose to that.
Okay.
And then when you're just about there, you can look at the sighting device to make sure you're actually squared up.
Then I get back out to my sighting device.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. Then obviously just pulling out of it, there's not much I need to look at.
Well, you want to
pick
hold the
up.
down line. One of the common mistakes is people will pivot and they'll start pulling out right away. Right, so now you had a line this far going up and this far going down, and you have very slow speed. Right, so you're going to try to pull out the same way you pulled in, and you're going to stall the airplane because you just don't have the airspeed for it.
I do that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So you got to hold the down line.
And I think one of the things I just learned from you that's important too, to help me, like you're counting, let's say 6 seconds up.
Yep.
Because a lot of times it's like, well, okay, so now I'm going here, and then immediately, because you're in something that shouldn't be flying straight down at the ground.
Oh yeah, and
consciously,
you get ground rush and, yeah.
You'll always start pulling. But if you use your method,
Yep.
counting, then at least I know. So is that, if I'm going up 160, is that about 1,000 feet? Let's say I'm trying
It'll
to.
be more than 1,000. It depends upon the airplane you're flying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say 1,500. If I do what you said, 6 seconds up, 4 seconds.
I was just giving a general number. You just have to
Okay.
count on the way up. But whatever
So you got to figure out your airplane.
whatever it was going up, just subtract 2 coming down.
Okay. So then if I
And
know.
again, that's just a general reference. It might be a little more, a little less.
Now, will that about get me my same altitude that I came out? I think
Roughly, yep.
that's important.
Yep.
So I'm going to practice that.
Yep.
All right, great.
You should actually count out loud, not in your head, because you can count in your head way faster than you can count out. Faster than the lips will actually move. So everything in aerobatics, especially when you start doing sequences or if you get in the competition, it's about a rhythm and a cadence. Everything should have the same cadence to it. And if you talk out loud, again, you can only talk so fast. You'll fly to that rhythm, you're talking like 1 and 2 and 3. Where in your head is like, you can
Yeah,
count way faster, especially in the heat of the moment, which
Yep.
will screw everything up. So
Good
you
point.
actually want to talk out loud.
Okay. Let me ask you about smoke. Is there a way to, if I do this whole maneuver with smoke on, is there a way to then look back and judge myself a little, or is it too hard to do that?
Not really, because wind moves it.
Okay.
When you do smoke is blowing out the back, and you get the prop wash pushing down. So as you're pivoting around, it's blowing the smoke out. So it makes this weird arc that's actually bigger than what the airplane is doing. So it's not a great reference.
Well,
It's
usually I
great.
look back at my smoke and there's like squiggles in the air, so I know I didn't do a good job.
It's great for air shows. It's not wonderful for instruction.
Okay.
And it makes a mess.
Yeah, exactly. All right, great. What else do I need to know?
Those are the basic fundamentals of it. And remember to break it down. First step is a radius. Second step is drawing a vertical line, holding that line. Third is the pivot. Fourth is a nice vertical line down, and 5 is another radius. So there's those 3 different elements put together, and some of them you're repeating. But it's all about those fundamentals. Like
Okay.
if you can't do a nice vertical line, you can't do a nice hammerhead. If you can't do a nice radius, you can't do a nice vertical line. So it's
Yeah.
about nailing the fundamentals.
It's like the critical change, so to speak.
Absolutely.
You break the beginning of it,
So,
the rest
so
of
even
it's
me,
like-
I mean, I've been flying aerobatics for 32 years and air shows for 23 years or something like that. At the beginning of every season, I spend a few days to a week working on nothing but fundamentals, just pulls, setting lines, doing rotations, none of the tumbles or any of that stuff, just working on the basics and the fundamentals. Because that's the building blocks of everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have those down, the rest of it's not going to look good.
I think, what you said is important, and it's almost like what we said, it's like the critical path in anything, whether it's business or anything like that. Racing boats or whatever. There's a lot of people, I think about it in this kind of generic, I'm going to go do a hammerhead, when what you really should be doing is chunking it down into components.
Exactly.
And that's the critical path, and making sure each component is perfect, and that, creates a much more structured
Yep.
maneuver. So I like
Exactly.
Because
Because it's not all about the pivot at the top. It's about the whole figure.
Yeah.
Right? It starts when you initiate the pull.
I think that's important because I know when I started flying aerobatics, like I would just think of it as like, oh, hey, let me just go do a hammerhead, and I just go through the motions and do it, and I never really thought about breaking it down into those pieces.
Yep.
And if I did, it's like, okay, I'm in piece 1. What's piece 1? All right, great, accomplished. Now I'm into piece 2.
Yep.
What am I doing in piece 2? 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as I transition, now I'm into piece 3. So if you can chunk it down like that and perfect each one.
And you really want to practice all the elements by themselves a few times, like just the radius. Like the first time you pull to the vertical, how do you know it's 5 Gs? I mean, you can look at the G meter, but like you don't know exactly what 5 Gs feels like. So maybe you just do a couple pulls of the vertical, then cap off or fly away.
Perfect
5, 6,
that.
7, 10 times. So you know, okay, that's what it feels like. That's what this radius should be. Okay, now what's the next step? Vertical line. All right, so let's do the radius, and let's sit on the vertical line for a 4 count, right? It's going on my back. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, I got it straight. Whatever it needs to do to maintain that perfect line. And then once you have that, okay, now let's continue it up and do the actual hammerhead on the top.
Yeah.
Then there's the down line, then there's the pull out. So
Okay.
it's really breaking it down and doing the basic
I think
elements.
that's important too, because I don't think people think that way. It's almost like when we're learning music or song, learn the intro, and you do the intro over and over and over. You don't just sit there and do the whole song 10 times and try to learn it, because you can't, you're trying to do too much. So do the intro, now I'm going to do the chorus, then they're going to do the hook.
Yep.
Same kind of, and I think that's pretty general in a lot of ways to train things, but I don't think people think of it this way. You think, well, I have to go through the whole thing, but I think that's a really good point. I'm going to start doing that a lot more. I'm going to go out and spend a whole morning on just pulling into my vertical.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Cool. What else do we need to do?
We'll have to get the airplane ready, get prepared for it. Maybe we'll walk through it a few times in our head before we actually fly, and we'll go do it.
Okay. This one is not, we're not obviously doing a whole full thing here, but what are some of the things that I think people should think about before you even start flying? Like, what is your cockpit checklist? I mean, checking belts are tight, there's nothing loose in the
I
cabin.
mean, obviously you want to do a thorough pre-flight in the airplane, make sure you got gas, oil, all the stuff you would normally do. Check the cockpit that there's no loose items anywhere. There's all sorts of horror stories about something loose, a pen or a penny or whatnot coming out of someone's pocket, gets in the tail and it jams the control. So we don't want any loose objects. We want to make sure the cockpit is clear of all that stuff. Check your cells, make sure you don't have anything in your pockets. Any loose anything, leave it behind in the hangar. It'll be there when you get back. And then check the parachute, make sure it's up to date and you're happy with it. It's going to be, if you, God forbid, need it, it's going to work.
Okay.
And then we get strapped in the airplane.
So we're flying. What do you do to check the cockpit? Do I just I just do just kind of a simple, nice, easy roll. Make sure nothing all of a sudden falls out of the nose in the airplane or something.
Yeah, so I'll just fly inverted. I'll actually like shake the airplane a little bit upside down.
Okay.
Make sure nothing's falling to the canopy.
Okay.
If it does fall to the canopy, I don't roll just back upright. I see if I can actually get my hand on it, and then roll back upright. So I have it in my hand. I can put it in a pouch, or worst comes to worst, you can go back to the airport.
So yeah, because it's a compounding effect. If you all of a sudden come back up, now you've just added another.
Yeah,
another
now it's lost
variable
in the
into
cockpit
it.
somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly.
While it's there, you might as well grab it when you can see it.
And each plane's a little different, obviously. I know in my extra, that was like, we were strict about that. It's like, because the extra's all open. So something could fall in the extra, go all the way back down to the tail where the controls are and stuff.
Yep.
So if anything like that came up, I just stop immediately, I go home. Like, I don't even mess with anything.
Yep.
Fly the plane home and deal with it. I don't try to mess with it. Obviously in the GameBird, it's not as critical because the GameBird's pretty.
Still critical. I'd follow the same rule. If I
But
found
it
something
won't go
loose in the
down.
cockpit, I would
Exactly.
head back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you never know what crack or crevice or whatnot it's going to find its way into.
All right, great. Anything else before you start flying aerobatics you check? But I mean, that's pretty much the critical pieces, right? I mean, obviously these planes, we're going to acro, pump on. I mean, we've got our own checklist in each plane, but for acro, is there anything that most people forget before they start flying?
Big thing is just make sure you physically are ready for it. Make sure you've eaten something. You know, don't pick out, but have something in your stomach. Be ready to fly. Always be looking for something you can visually understand. It's usually when people get mentally confused in the cockpit that they start getting sick, whether they realize it or not. But if you're looking at something you can understand where you are in space, you're less likely to start feeling not well. Yeah, and just be mentally prepared for what's going to happen.
Okay.
You know, like walking through what you're going to do on the ground before you go in the air. It's
almost like the Blue Angels and stuff where they just really sit there at a table and they go through their show.
Oh yeah, I tell everybody that everything you do in the air is just to validate what you figured out on the ground. If you haven't figured it out on the ground or you don't know how to do it on the ground, then it's not going to work in the air.
All right, great. So anything else we need to talk about before we jump in the plane?
No, I think we should go do it.
All right, great. We'll see you guys in the air.
Okay, Rob, so I'm going to go through everything you taught me on the ground, and I'm going to start my first segment, pull into, going straight up into our vertical, lose the horizon. I'm going to pick up my sight gauge. I'm going to start my count. And I'm going to go into left rudder and have you walk me through it. So when you tell me you're ready, I'm going to go. I'm ready. Okay, here we go. Going in vertical. So that was a little rough, stalling the plane a little much.
No problem. You want me to demonstrate one real quick?
Yeah, you have the plane.
I got the airplane. So it's clear. Alright, so the pull, it's nice smooth pull. You ready? Here we go. Look at that sight picture off the left, that's what you want to see. One more right rudder as we get slow. Right rudder, stop it. Now we're actually going to hold the down line. And pull. There we go.
Bingo.
Airplane.
I have the plane.
So it looks like that camera out there is probably about what you want to put on the horizon.
Okay, copy that.
Nice smooth pull.
And here we go.
A little more. Right there. Hold it, 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 and kick. Hold it right aileron. Right rudder, stop it. Okay, now hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and pull.
3, 4, here we go.
Alright, what's the one thing you did not do on the way down?
Left rudder?
No, you didn't look out to the left to see if you're actually vertical.
Oh, good point. I was looking too much at the ground there, yep.
Yep, everybody wants to stare at the ground.
Alright, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to make sure I do that one right now. I got the first segment right. Area is clear. We good to go?
Good to go.
Alright, here we go. Going up.
Left. Yeah, hold it, 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 and kick. Right aileron. And right rudder, stop. Okay, hold it.
Oh, there we go. Much better.
go.
All right.
Don't stall it because you got plenty of speed.
What happens when you have a good coach, huh?
Now let's try one more.
No traffic on the box, right?
Remember, when the pivot stops at the top, you don't need the forward pressure anymore. You can relax that.
And let's see, here we go.
A little high in left wing, a little less right rotor. And kick. Right rotor. Good.
Now,
There you go.
press
And
that up.
pull. Just don't get so preoccupied on the way down that you forget to count on the way. You don't want to already be like 3 seconds in and then start counting.
Okay, we all good to try it again?
Okay, good to go.
To a Skyhawk short final.
And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Follow traffic flow clock a mile indicating if you're not.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm having a tough time coming out of it and getting that speed.
Yeah. So everything with the elevators pressures, it's not really movements. Let me do one. Watch how little I actually move the elevator.
Yeah,
But you can be on the controls with me. Going vertical. It's almost like I'm just squeezing my fist. Just real subtle movements on the way down. And pull.
Alright.
Alright, you're playing.
Alright.
Okay, you ready? Go for it.
Go.
Number 63 from the contract. We're all turn base and continue traffic will hold us in the turn.
Okay, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Okay, kick. Right rudder, stop. Don't move the stick too much, don't move it too much, a little bit.
2, 1, coming out.
Personnel will be in the safety area of the north.
Good.
A little better.
Not quite vertical on the way down, but much closer.
Okay, so I know what I gotta work on then.
Yep. One more.
Expect your landing clearance short
Here
final.
we go.
Okay. Okay, left wing down just a little bit.
6, 7, 8,
Okay.
9, 6, 5.
Yeah, you keep pulling back when you stop. There you go. Every time you're doing the pivot, you're pulling back on the stick about 3 or 4 inches, and the plane's just following you.
We'll do one more. I'm gonna get that down.
Okay.
Here we go. Six.
Nice. Full pressure, full pressure. There you go.
Oh, way too much right rudder.
Yep, again, once you stop the pivot, you pull back at the stick.
Alright,
Alright, you know what to work on.
I got it. What's another good move we can do?
Yeah, can I do one figure before you head in?
You got it.
I was going to do some vertical rolls into a tumble.
Alright.
A vertical tumble. Okay, ready? On vertical. And rolling. Then just a roll level. Go.
Oh, that thing rolls nice, huh?
All right, Rob, that was a blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thank you. And now
My
I can
pleasure.
really understand like how you kind of broke down in steps and kind of chunks, and it really helped me kind of think through, okay, so now I know the piece I need to work on. So it's not like just general thing I need to work on my hammerheads.
Yep.
It's like I know I got to work on coming downhill and getting that right, getting
Yep.
off the stick and stuff. So the way that you broke it down and explained it, I think is really important for everybody to understand. So just in those segments is really
Absolutely.
good. So
Yep.
that was awesome. I learned a lot there.
And, you know, this is stuff that can translate to all flying too. It's not just aerobatics. You know, don't concentrate on the whole picture at once. Take it in small chunks and perfect each chunk, and that'll broaden the entire picture.
Downwind, base, power
Exactly.
settings, everything the same way. But
Exactly.
even more important than for
That's
what we
right.
did today. So
That's
I learned a lot from there, and then you helped me
Good.
with some of my roles, which is good. And yeah, I was having struggling with getting that coordination and coming back in.
Yep.
I think when I started out in aerobatics, I didn't appreciate enough about when to really be on the feet as well.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started flying, I thought it was all stick, and
No.
there's really so much more
A lot
to
of
it.
feet, yeah.
And then the other thing that a lot of people don't think
It's a
about
lot of
is-
finesse too.
y-
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
just jamming things.
Well,
in
I was hitting that rudder hard.
Yeah.
So now I just got to get up there and keep
there. Yeah,
practicing.
just push it with your toes. Don't push it with your foot.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
And then I think in aerobatics too, even more so, is really understanding, you know,
Yes.
the torque and how that
Absolutely.
affects it and stuff. So hopefully everybody got a lot out of it. But before we close up, you went and did some crazy maneuvers. So let's talk through what we did so we can show it to people and kind of talk through what that whole maneuver was.
The one that I did?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just, I call it a vertical tumble. So pull it vertical, bunch of aileron rollers to the left, kick some rudder, do a end over end tumble, but going vertically until it kind of peters out, down line with the roll, and pull out in the opposite direction we came in.
There you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It was a blast, and I just loved it. So I appreciate you being
My
here.
pleasure. Lots
And
of
by the
fun.
way, everybody, make sure you check out. We got so much more with Rob. There's so much more education. There's so much more entertainment and stuff. And this one I think is going on YouTube. So make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want more of this, make sure you join us in the community of the E3 Aviation Association. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.
See ya.